Good morning everybody and welcome to today's golf drills for the lounge. Today I'd like to give you a drill to help you with the one-piece takeaway. This is one of the most talked about areas of the golf swing, and it seems very simple in effect to make a turn where the club, arms and chest turn together in one triangle to get the upper body coiling and to get a nice connection between the club and the body. There's lots of different problems I see that come from this, and I'm going to give you a couple of really strong feelings today to help you with it. So one of the most common faults I see is where people have too active a wrist action and their hands and wrists bow and let the club head get too far around behind them. Lots of people come for coaching saying they get the club too far behind them. However, the most common fault I see for people trying to correct that by themselves is that because the hands, they know their hands are too active, they then, to control their hands and wrists, lock up their shoulders. And I then see lots of people doing these sort of moves where, yes, the club head has stayed out in front of them in the takeaway, but because their shoulders are so stiff and tense to stop the hands being active, the club face is now in a closed position. And look, the wrist just cannot hinge this way when the club face is closed. So the only way the wrists can go from here are this way. So they still end up with the club moving across and behind them because they've gone from stiff and closed, and it's the only way they can get their wrists moving. So we've already done some drills related to this earlier on in this golf drill series, where I talked about the practice of hinging the wrists in a vertical direction. They never bow this way. And I talked about how when you get to here, a perfect hinge will feel vertical, but it doesn't look it because your chest is still turning. So I want to talk a little bit about the feelings that get you to this position, because if you're tense in the shoulders and shut, you can't hinge. Likewise, if you've been overactive in your wrists early on and the club's behind you, you can't hinge either. So today I want to give you some really strong feelings through your forearm that's going to connect the club head to the chest in the takeaway. We've talked about how the grip needs to be underneath the back pad of your left hand and underneath the middle knuckle of your left thumb, so that I said you could take the back three fingers of your left hand off the club and it sits under that pad. Now when you do that, you can get the club head feeling very, very heavy in the back three fingers of your left hand if you've gripped it correctly in this way I've described. So much so that if you twiddle the club round this way and the club's still underneath that back pad of your left hand, you can actually feel the weight in the toe end of the club is trying to twist your knuckles that way. Same when I flip it over this way with it underneath the back pad of my left hand, I can feel that toe end trying to twist. So now I can feel the weight of the toe end pulling straight down the line of the leading edge of the club there. If you don't get that feeling of that really heavy club head in those back three fingers and under the wrist, you're gripping it too high into the palm of your hand. So you can get to the point where you could actually shut your eyes and start spinning it around, and you'd be able to tell yourself where the club head is, that way, that way, that way, without even looking at it, by the feel of the weight of it in those back three fingers. So that's something you can really start to tinker around with at home. Keep picking it up, have a club in your kitchen, play around with it until you feel that heavy sensation. Now, once you've got that heavy sensation, if you lifted it just off the ground in the setup position, you feel it, you could let go with the back three fingers, you can feel it heavy in those fingers and under the pad. If you rotate the club head, the forearm and the chest together, when you get to the 3 o'clock position here, you could still feel that heavy weight of the club head under the back three fingers, and you could still let go with the back three fingers, look, and the club's still under there. And the more you start to tinker, even at 130, look, can you still feel it under that forearm, under that back pad, heavy in those back three fingers? And what you'll start to feel is that if you tense the shoulders and go this way, you won't feel the heavy club head and it would drop out of your hand. Likewise, if you roll the wrist, you won't feel the heavy club head in those back three fingers. But by just slow motion tinkering like this, what you'll start to feel is that to keep the club under that pad and to keep it heavy in the back three fingers, you'll feel how much you are really activating these forearm muscles. So actually it's the forearm that's rotating to link the club head to the centre of your chest. And I quite like to do this drill where I point my other hand into the centre of my chest so I can feel it moving at the same speed as this and at the same speed as this, so it's perfectly connected. And you really start to build the feeling of the club head in here. So when people say to me, what do you start the swing with? I feel it starts from the club head because I can feel the weight of the club head in those fingers, and then it works up through the forearm into here. Whereas if it starts from the upper body, it can lead to tension. So this is a real opportunity for you to get some feel of the club head, feel the weight of it in your hand, feel it starting to activate those forearm muscles. Then you won't have to start tensing to stop the club head going behind you. You can trust that the correct muscles are giving you that lovely one-piece takeaway. So have fun practicing, and I'll see you on Monday.